Camden Church. It is Sunday. We are blessed to be here with you today. If you will go ahead and stand up, we're going to invite you to worship with us.
There is no fear, 'cause I believe. There is no doubt, 'cause I have seen your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over. I have a go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows. You win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows. joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be.
Let's pray. God, thank you for this morning. Thank you for being a God who is with us in the high times of our life. Sometimes we feel like we don't need you. Thank you for being a God who is with us in the mess, in the difficulty, in the lows of life. For being a God who is always near. You guys can have a seat. Good morning. Welcome to Christ Church Camden. We are so glad that you are here. My name is Dan. I'm the student pastor here. And man, we're just happy to see your face, happy to worship with you this morning, happy to learn and grow and just walk with Jesus this morning together. If this is your very first time, or maybe you've been here a few times, but you just feel like you haven't quite taken the steps to connect with us yet, we would love to do that with you. That's what we're about as a church. And there are a few really easy ways to do that. There's a QR code on the seat right in front of you. You can take your phone, you can snap that, get your picture, your camera out, not your Snapchat, get your camera out. You guys, I'm used to talking to teenagers, they all got Snapchat. Get your camera out, QR code, take your right love you. Thank you so much for this morning yet again. Thank you so much that we can worship you. We can just learn more about you. We can, as a group of people, grow in our walk with you together this morning. Lord, it's so awesome. God, I pray that as we listen, that our hearts and our minds are open to the truths from your word that you have for us, that we leave this room today different, more in love with you, walking with you. Lord, we can walk out into our homes and our jobs and our schools, and Lord, we can impact people with the love of Jesus Christ, and we can change lives because you decided to use us, broken people, to reach others. And God, we thank you for that. We love you. In your name, amen.
Well, good morning again, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Everybody good? Yeah? Anybody stay up late for baseball? Okay. All right. This is my favorite time of the year, by the way, because everything comes together at once. Like the serious part of baseball with football and basketball and even hockey. So it's great for me as a sports fan. So glad you guys are here today. I'm John, one of the pastors, and let me just say a couple of things at the beginning, and then we'll jump in. But one of those things is, as Dan was talking, I started thinking about, okay, if you're our guest here, or you've been relatively new, like you've been around a couple of times, one of the things that's definitely happening over the last several weeks is there are a lot of people who are showing up for the very first time. And so if you're here and you're like, well, nobody's talked to me, and guess what? The person next to you might also be new. And so just kind of consider that for a second, and maybe just be the one to reach out and say, hey, how are you? It's my first time, and you be on the welcoming team. All right, how about that? So part of the past week I spent hanging out with about 60 or so other pastors up in North Carolina, and we're just talking about, and we're kind of dreaming about and doing some planning on what does it look like to work together with other churches in your community to the same end, right? How can we collectively get on the same page and work on a mission that kind of reaches our whole and changes our whole community together? And so that was kind of fun for me to do that. That's a really high value of ours. It's something that we're working on, and trying to see how can we maybe actually even lead to the point where we get some other churches who are saying, yeah, we want to see the same things happen here that you want to happen here. And so it's going to take all of us in our community to reach all of the disconnected and unfulfilled people. And so that's something that was fun for me, and that we continue to work on. And then in the last couple of days, I ended up in Pennsylvania. I went up there because my wife, her company is up there, and she was up there working for the week. And I went up there and went to a dinner with all them and pretend like I like her team and all that kind of thing. And then but I don't know if you know this or not, okay? But when you go into the Amish area of Pennsylvania, there are some really interesting city names, if you've ever been up there before or not. And so I'm in Lancaster County, okay? And I'm looking at the map going, well, there's fertility and intercourse and paradise. These are names of cities, okay? And I thought, what an inspiring location for me to sit there and write the message for us today, okay? The things that we're going to talk about. So on that note, if you have kids that are sitting with you, okay, and they're probably under middle school age, it's probably a good time to maybe take them down to our kids ministry, or don't say I didn't warn you. You'll have to have some conversations later, because today we're really going to step into it. All right, one other thing before we do, date night. Date night is something we've done around here the last couple of years, and so we have the next one coming up on Friday, November the 5th. Make sure you sign up for that and be here. It should be a lot of fun. We actually hired kind of a covered band this year. Some of you may have heard these people before, the Guys. I know some of you are probably fans of them. The Guys, they're a local group, and so they're going to come and play for us, and that should be fun. And bring your kids. We're doing kids stuff, food, all that kind of thing. We'll have some cool things going on. But the other thing is we're going to learn from the wisdom of some other couples who have been married for at least 50 years and see what it is that we could actually learn from them. So I think it's a great supplement to our current series, what we're doing here. So go on the app I think that's the best place to probably do it. $20 and sign up for date night. All right. Every relationship, what we're saying here is every relationship has sparks, right? And those might be sparks of attraction. They may be sparks in regards to dating, definitely marriage, like honeymoon sparks. We've got sparks of conflict, and then we've got this whole idea of how do we actually keep the spark alive and going and growing as we grow old together. And so I hope after the last week, maybe you've done some thinking, maybe you actually did some homework, however that applies to you, and had some conversations. And I think it's just something that we all can get in on, whether you are single and you're like, I'm hopeful that maybe this will be me someday, or you're looking, or you're just starting out in a relationship, or you're dating seriously, engaged, married, whatever. And now, let me go back to date night, because if you don't have to be married to come to date night. We've done that in the past, but if you're dating and you're like, okay, well, we're engaged, then by all means, come to date night. And so what we're looking at is the Song of Songs. It's actually in a section of the Bible in a group of literature called wisdom literature. So this is a book of wisdom, which is amazing because it means that once again, especially in regards to relationships and even sexuality, that God never leaves us on our own to figure things out. Like he provides things for us and examples and insights and directions. And I want to go back to the very end of what we just did a couple of weeks ago in the Sermon on the Mount. You remember how that whole thing ended where Jesus said, okay, you are a wise person when you take the truth of what I have just said and then you use it in your life and you put it into action. And I think that's true in regards to what we're talking about here. So my approach to the whole thing, I'll just ask you one more time this morning is, would you at least come to this with an attitude that says, okay, could my marriage actually be better than it is if we were to follow this model? Or could possibly maybe my future marriage, the one I hope to have and the one I'm working towards, actually be better if I was to learn from these people here? Or what if our approach to dating, right, and being exclusive and our understanding of sex be more healthy if we just paid attention to this? And I think all those answers are yes. So again, Song of Solomon or the Song of Songs is the way it opened last week. It's either about Solomon or it was written by Solomon, and he begins this way, essentially to say, it is the greatest song that's ever been written. So he probably wrote it, didn't he? That's something you would say. This is the greatest song that's ever been written. It's more like an album, right? A concept album, and we're just kind of taking a track at a time. And so real quickly, last week, sparks were flying when our couple met. Or at least I think they're probably looking back over their relationship and they're just telling us how it all happened and how it transpired. And so the woman, the missus, speaks first in the opening of the song and she says, I saw you, right? I wanted you. You looked good. And we said last week, and he smelled good, and it was mutual, right? He felt that way about her. But above all else, what she said was, okay, those things are great and I'm attracted to you, but there's something even better. And the better was his character. Hey, I know who you are, and it's keeping me interested in you. I see something in you that I like, and it's good, and it's just. So there's attraction, but specifically it was character. There is something in you that I believe reflects the character of God. And we did I gave you a little bit of homework, and I just asked 2 questions, and they were just simply this. Think about this. Who are you looking for? Right? Be clear about the person that you're looking. If you're married, I really don't think I had to say this, but after some conversations last week, I do have to say that. This does not apply to you if you're married, okay? You should not be looking for anyone, okay? But if you're single and dating and that, who are you looking for? Do you have at least a silhouette, an image, an idea of the person that you're looking for? And then the second question would be, okay, who do you need to be? In other words, what might need to be true about your character and how you live and the person that you are and becoming in order to attract the person that you have a silhouette of? So I hope that makes sense. And so when we left them, they were about to meet up, and she was really clear at that point to say, okay, just so you know, I'm not going to compromise my standards. I'm not going to lower myself. I'm not going to essentially prostitute myself to try to lure you in. Now, what we're going to see today might sound a little bit like a contradiction to that, but you're just going to have to hang with it, okay? Now, she has some friends who chime in to say, okay, you don't have to do all that, but what if you just maybe kind of bumped into him somewhere around town? And that's what happened, right? Oh, you bring your sheep here? Amazing. I bring my goats here. Interesting. Funny seeing you here. And so that's how that happened right there. Now, I've told you this before. I've told you parts of this story before, but that's kind of how I met my wife, Chris. That's kind of how it all began. Like, it was in college. Her all-female dorm was having an open house, and so me and some of my friends said, hey, I think there's going to be free food, and so we just kind of went through the dorm, and that's what happened, and we got free food, and I ended up in her dorm room, and we accidentally met. But there was something that attracted me to her. There was like this mysterious nature about this person who was like kind of interested, but really seemed like she's hard to get, if you know what I mean by that. And so I was kind of intrigued by all that, and so it was already second semester. I was like, I've never seen this girl before in my life. Where does she come from, right? So I started to ask around, hey, what do you know about Chris Steiner? And all the reports were, oh, she's amazing. She's fantastic. She's like out of your league. And it was all those things, you know, and it was just like, okay, well, she's great. And then I started to see her everywhere. You know how that works sometimes? I was like, okay, you weren't here all last semester, but now I see you everywhere. And so I started to learn her schedule. What classes does she have on what particular day? Oh, she's probably going to be coming out of the library about 9:55. So I would just kind of go out of my way, and I would walk by those places and hopefully see her and bump into her. Oh, you have classes here too? Of course, on our campus, there's like only one building where there's classes, so that wasn't a very good line. But, you know, one day, she accidentally ran into me at the gas station, and her friend followed me to a basketball game. And that's kind of how it began. Hey, do you want to hang out with me? Sure, let's hang out together. That's what's happening here. They're having dinner together. I think they're having a picnic in the forest, by the way, but they've noticed each other, and now they're going to do the word what I want to call is regard. Now I'm going to give you 4 words today, and I stole these, I'll straight up tell you, from a guy named Tommy Nelson, and he wrote a book on the Song of Songs that's been very helpful for me, and I thought, well, those are 4 good words, so I just kind of want to use them to frame my understanding of the passage. And so regard, that's what's happening right here. And we know that Mr. Solomon spoke last week, right? Hey, when you come to my mind, I think of a horse. And we said that last week, right? Not just any horse, but a white one that leads Pharaoh's army. So that's like the top of the line. Like only the Pharaoh can ride that particular horse. And it's beyond value, like there's no comparison. And it's Solomon saying, okay, hey, you know that one horse down there in Egypt that they all treat like a god? Well, that's how I think of you. So now we're going to pick it up. Chapter 1, verse 12. Oh, this is going to be amazing. I hope you're ready. While the king is on his couch, my perfume releases its fragrance. This is to be your second chance to take your kids to class, okay? The one I love is a sachet of myrrh to me, spending the night between my breasts. Now, if you're a middle schooler, you're like, oh, he said breasts in church. It's going to come up a lot in here, all right? The one I love is a cluster of henna blossoms to me in the vineyards of Engedi. What in the world is going on here, okay? Now, I think she's imagining her man catching the scent of her perfume. So again, I'm picturing them on this picnic together. They're at dinner, and she says, okay, my perfume, it's like offering its fragrance. Later, she's actually going to say, this guy, right, Solomon, he is my perfume. So you got to understand, right, women in Middle Eastern culture, they would have this pouch of perfume. It would be full of spices. It would hang around like a necklace around her neck, and it would lay right here between her breasts, okay? So that's the image that we're getting right here. And all during the night, she would smell this, right? I'd smell this fragrance all night. It's a significant part of her identity. You know, like when somebody walks by and you're like, oh, wow, I like the smell of that. Like she has an identity attached to her smell. And she's saying, look, I think about you all night. You're in my dreams. I'm holding you right here. Engedi, by the way, is just a spring in the middle of the desert. She's like, okay, man, you're like a breath of fresh air. You're like a perfume I smell all night. You're like a spring in the desert. It's poetry, all right? Work with me. So they're regarding one another. But the next thing, what we're going to see now is they're going to respect one another. So we're starting to see each other a little differently, and he sings to her, verse 15, how beautiful you are, my darling, how very beautiful. Your eyes are doves. You're like, what is wrong with this guy? Can he not get any better descriptors? But listen, doves oftentimes represent peace and beauty. And doves are very fragile birds. If you've ever tried to hold a bird before, you know, like just how careful you have to be with that and take care of it. He's like, look, you're not just one of the guys. You're not just another pursuit for me. Now, interestingly enough, and just bear with me here, but 3,000 years later, a guy by the name of Paul is going to write some words down in the New Testament, and he's going to say, husbands, treat your wives as the weaker partner. Now that doesn't, listen, she might be able to lift more than you. She might be able to bench press more than you, and she could probably beat you up. That's not what he's talking about. It doesn't mean that she doesn't see herself as being strong. It just literally means that she's more delicate than you are. It just got me thinking, like, if you're like a coffee drinker, all right, and you go into the kitchen every morning for coffee, and it's the difference between, do I grab one of many mugs, and if I break it, it's no big deal, or if I go for the china and I break that one. It would be like this. You have a guest over to your house, right? You have company, and they're staying with you, and they go to the coffee pot, and they break a mug. Your immediate thought should be, oh, how valuable is that mug? Like, was that a gift that I got from my friend who's a Florida Gator fan? Or is that my mug that says Georgia Bulldogs on it? Now, that's a big difference, isn't it? One you throw away, and you just get another one, right? No one drinks out of the other one, right? You treat that one with respect. That's what he's saying about her. I'm going to treat you with respect. She responds, verse 16, how handsome you are, my love. How delightful. You're handsome, right? You're charming and you're pleasant. I like to be around you. Now, this is interesting because this is actually a description, the exact same phrase that David, who would be Solomon's father, actually used to describe a friendship that he had. His very best friend, essentially to say, I just really enjoy being around you. Now, I think it's important to note before you get too far into the relationship here that they are friends. That's what we're talking about. There's a friendship here. You're actually going to see this on their wedding night when we get a couple of chapters into the story. In the honeymoon room, that before, this is interesting, before they actually refer to each other as lovers, they're addressing each other as friends. It's fascinating to me, right? In the words of the famous theologian Michael Bolton, how could we be lovers if we can't be friends? All right, are you with me? All right. Friendship, that's what we're talking about. Listen, guys, I know that you say you love her, great, but do you like her? I mean, do you like this woman, this girl? You seen some of those hypothetical questions that you come across from time to time, like, okay, you have 24 hours to live. That's just a bad place to start, but you know the question. You have 24 hours to live. What are you going to do? You get one final dinner, like, who are you going to have dinner with? If you're married or seriously dating, the answer should be her, okay? Just so you know. Of all the people in the world, you could combine those two answers to be one. I will have my final dinner with her, okay? I'll spend my last moments with her. I'll have my last dinner with her. What I want to do is be with her. Maybe you've seen some of those oftentimes annoying social media posts that just to me are just a little bit over the top, but maybe that's just my aversion to social media. I don't know. But someone will put a picture of them on there, and then it will have the caption, today I'm marrying my best friend. Those are kind of annoying, aren't they? Or 15 years, celebrating 15 years, married to my best friend. I mean, come on. But it's genuine, isn't it? It's genuine. You want that feeling to be genuine. Okay, now it gets more fun. Verse 16. Our bed is verdant, or where we're sitting, right? Where we're talking, the couch, or essentially where we're hanging out. And again, I think they're possibly outdoors because of what comes next. In other words, it's green. Where we're at is green. It's like we're in a green field here. The beams of our house are cedars. Our rafters are cypresses. It sounds like they're in the woods, to me at least. Or maybe, possibly, I'm willing to admit, they might be describing the kind of home that they want to build. Hey, we want it to be green and luscious and secure over our head. All I hear them saying essentially, though, is, hey, we haven't actually moved in together and we don't have a mortgage, but wherever you are, I'm at home. I mean, that's poetic, isn't it? Out here where there's nothing but green grass and trees overhead, all I need is you. So they have this regard for one another, right? They respect one another. Move on to chapter 2. We're throwing it back to her. She's got a line in the song where she says, I'm a wildflower of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. Now, these are just like common, right? You see those kinds of flowers everywhere. They could be really, really beautiful, but they're very, very common. What we're going to see, though, is her perspective about herself is starting to change. You know, last week she said, okay, you're looking at me and I'm dark and some people don't think I take care of myself, but with you, I mean, when I'm with you, I mean, I feel like I'm the most special girl in the world. I'm beautiful. This is what we're going to see take place. She's saying, you saw that in me. You treated me that way. Maybe I am. And she starts to believe it about herself. Now, let's just pause for a second. If you're older, just dudes, we'll talk to dudes. If you're older, you've been married for a while, it's starting to get a little comfortable and you kind of fall into your patterns, you still need to tell her that you love her. And listen, I've talked to so many older guys before, and you know what their response is? Well, I did tell her that once when we got married, and nothing's really changed. So you're not like updating your status or anything. That's not going to work very long, okay? Guys, listen, if you don't tell your girlfriend, fiance, or your wife that she's beautiful, that she's lovely, that she's special, it's only a matter of time before someone else will. It's only a matter of time. She's lovely, he's saying. She's captivating. She's like not just one of many flowers. She's like a rose. She's like a lily. And then he adds this in verse 2, like a lily among thorns. So is my darling among the young women, right? Last week, we know all the single ladies wanted Solomon. That's what they said. But he goes, look, I don't want them. You're the only one for me. You call yourself like one of all the wildflowers. Okay, I could go with that. But compared to everyone else, you're like a rare wild flower surrounded by common weeds. That's what he's saying. You're like a lily, you know what? And they're all like thorns. Again, guys, if you want to get to a woman's heart, tell her she's the only one for you. Just say, you know what? Compared to all the other ladies in this room right now, you're like a special flower. They're all thorns. That's what he's saying. Now, guys, does she know that? Why does she know that? Like, if you feel that way, does she know that? How about this? If you're married and you have kids, do your kids know that? Do your kids know that she's the only one? She's the most beautiful one. She's the one just for you. Have they seen that from you? Have they heard that from you? You want her to admire you, guys? Then treat her like a queen. Here's her response, verse 3. Oh, it gets really fascinating now. Like an apricot tree, or depending on your version of the Bible, most of them will actually say an apple tree. Like an apricot tree among the trees of the forest, so is my love among the young men. I delight to sit in his shade. And I'm going to stop right there. Dang it, it's up there. Don't read ahead. You'll get off track. I delight to sit in his shade. Okay, she's saying, look, he's a tree, and the rest of y'all a bunch of shrubs. Okay? Just like she's a special flower and you're thorns. Well, he's like a tree and y'all a bunch of shrubs, right? There's no other man in the world. There's a lot of guys out there, but of all the trees in the forest, this is the one for me. And not only that, I desire to sit under his shade, right? I want to sit under the branches or the arms of his protection. It's an image for just that, for protection. When I'm with you, she's saying, I feel protected. I suppose, I didn't really think of a good one, but it might be like a distant relative of sorts of a girl that you see wearing her boyfriend's football jersey, right? Oh, we're together, we're together, and I feel protected underneath this jersey, so to speak. I'm identifying with him. Again, 3,000 years later, right, the Apostle Paul would say, husbands, you need to nourish and protect your wife like your own body. Like you spend time in front of the mirror and you go to the gym and you try to watch what you eat and take care of yourself and exercise. Treat her just like Jesus treats the church. And she's saying, okay, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for your protective shade. And she wants to be under the banner of that protection. Again, guys, everybody, a girl, or let's say a daughter, right, or a wife should never be afraid to come to a boy, a man, a husband, or a father. She should never have that fear of how she's going to be received or treated. My wife, Chris, should never be afraid that I would hurt her, that I would harm her, that I would hit her or grab her or shake her or demean her in any way. She should never be afraid to approach me and think that I'm going to embarrass her. What she says is, oh, I know one guy who's different than all the others. And then this, his fruit is sweet to my taste. You go, okay, well, that sounds sexual. Oh, it's going there, okay. It's going there, but we're not there yet. It's poetry again, okay? He nourishes her. He builds her up. He gives her what she needs. She feels secure. She's like, I don't need another tree. He's giving me everything that I need. So again, guys, when's the last time you just simply told her that she's beautiful? Or you just simply said, oh, I love you, or more than that, I'm in love with you. And it's not to get something. Because you may actually try this later, right? When you say, oh, you're so beautiful, I love you. And she's going to say, what do you want? That should tell you need to practice a little bit more and be regular at it. Don't get defensive when she does that. You just keep doing it, okay? All right, chapter 2, verse 4. Now, if you grew up in church and you went to vacation Bible school, anybody? And you're roughly my age, you may have sang this song at some point. It's a little bit of a different translation. He brought me to his banqueting table. Does that sound familiar to anybody? And you had motions, and there were like things that you did, and you sing this song, and it's again, the story is somewhat of a picture of how God loves people and how he wants to have a relationship with them. But it's definitely a love story about a man and a woman, and that is probably not the most appropriate song that we should be singing with first and second graders. I just want to set it up that way, okay? Here's the way it reads in verse 4, chapter 2, verse 4. He brought me to the banquet hall, and he looked on me with love. Now, the banquet table, this really, really huge table in probably a really, really big open space or some kind of an enormous dining hall. There'd be a lot of people in there, and we're all kind of having dinner together. He's not ashamed to be together with me in public. Hey, when we're out in public and we're at dinner, it's like he's flying a banner over me with one word, and the word is love. That's the picture she's got here. Again, like a general, right? A general in battle, he would have a banner, a flag, something to mark out the fact that, okay, these are my troops. Like, we have identification together. So in public, what she's saying is, oh, he's not ashamed to be with me. We're together, right? We're Facebook official or whatever it is these days. And he's saying, hey, y'all, just watch me love her. Watch me. It's so different. And I don't even know how to say it other than you'll know it if you know it. It is so different than the demeaning, possessive, even abusive way that women are described by men in popular music today. I just don't get that at all. And I just don't get the whole concept of how that works and how we talk about that. Look, the banner is love. Now, it's not possessive in a controlling kind of a way. It doesn't mean you hold her hand in a way that she can't get away. It doesn't mean you put your arm around her so that she doesn't walk off. It doesn't mean that you're so controlling that she cannot be her own person. It's protective. That's what we're talking about. Not possessive, it's protective. So guys, right, you have a girlfriend, you have a wife, again, you have a daughter. Is the way that you treat her in public a display of your love? Do you sometimes, sometimes. That's not even the right word. Do you let her go first? Right? Do you let her go first? Do you introduce her to people? Do you open the door for her? Do you speak well of her? Do you actually ask her opinion on certain things and maybe take it from time to time? Do you protect her from your kids? When they start to mouth off and they get disrespectful, do you say, all right, well, they're just going to work it out? Or do you step in and you say, hey, you're not going to talk to my wife that way? Do you protect her from anyone and everyone? Do you undermine her or publicly disagree with her? Do you side with your kids? I mean, those are the kinds of things we're talking about. Maybe you've heard before, hey, that you can either be right or you can be happy, but you can't be both. So later tonight, some of you will figure out that you were right, but you're not happy, okay? So you need to defer. He treats me like the most special girl in the world. Fly the banner of provision and protection, and she'll stay with you. So the relationship is growing, right? Provides, protects, there's respect. Something else is growing, and I warned you, you had a chance to take your kids to class, and now you're going to have some conversations. So here we go. When you do that, we regard one another, right? We respect one another. We have romance. See, now she's lovesick. She's faint. She needs to lay down. Verse 5. And here's what she says. Sustain me with raisins. That just makes me laugh. I don't know why. I did extra research here because I want to make sure that I got this one right. Sustain me, okay, or strengthen me. She means lean, rest, support, hold me, but do you know what else she's saying? I'm telling you, this is the literal. Sustain me, lay on me. Sustain me, lay on me, and sustain me with raisins. In other words, raisin cakes, right? They're considered an aphrodisiac in the Middle East, right? You're treating me nice, I get it, we're talking, but now I need you to get over here and bring a snack. That's what she said. Refresh me with apricots, or again, apples, for I'm lovesick. Now listen, you're going to blush. Just let me get through it. When we're talking about apricots and apples, we are talking about, listen, literal definition, any tree that produces bright, red, juicy fruit with seeds. That's what we're talking about. Ancient cultures, again, right, they thought that anything that had seeds in it was thought to have a sexual quality to it. And who is the apricot or the apple tree? Solomon. She just said that. She is saying, listen, hey, come over here, spread out your blanket, make yourself at home, because I want your apples. Listen, she's on fire. This is a woman on fire right here. Remember, protective, right? He provides for her. He's happy to be with me. He's fine being seen with me. He looks good. He smells good. I admire him. Hey, lay with me. Bring the magic potion. I want to have sex with you. That's what it said. Listen, this is her boyfriend now, not her husband, not yet. And all along the way, this gets held up as a picture of a holy relationship. I actually heard someone say this week, I don't know where I heard it, but he goes, man, it's a shortcut from holiness to horniness, isn't it? Verse 6, may his left hand be under my head and his right arm embrace me. Interesting, I wonder what that's about. This is a traditional sexual position. Even counselors, marriage counselors, right? Psychologists will actually coach people in relationships using this kind of thing. Story of passion, right? Romance. Well, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with this, okay? You know, why are we talking about lilies and apricots and apples in church? I don't get it. There's a lot of reasons. I'll give you two. One, a lot of us have never heard this before. We've never heard this before. By the time my dad got around to giving me the talk, I had already been talking with my other friends for 5 years before that. And he still didn't say anything important. A lot of us never thought about it. we just never considered that maybe God actually cared about this stuff enough to maybe like give us a model of how it should be done. And one of the other reasons is this is the best place to talk about it. It's the absolute best place for us to talk about it, because here's why. When you leave here today and you go out those doors, there is nobody out there saying what I'm saying right now. There's nobody telling you, you know what, there might be a different way. It might be a better way. What if you were to consider that God has something to say about it, and what if we tried that? Maybe your life would be better. Nobody out there is reinforcing the things that we're saying or what I'm about ready to say. See, she found love of her life. I'm better with him. I like myself more. I want your left hand under my head and your right hand exploring. That's what she says. I want you with me. I want you on me. I want to have sex with you. Now, in the movie, what happens next? She's on fire. He's got an open invitation. And then she says this. She's speaking to her friends. Young women, I charge you. In other words, I swear on everything I could possibly swear. By the gazelles and the wild does of the field, do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time. She says, deer and gazelles, right? Beautiful animals. They're also fertile. In the ancient world, they're associated with love and sex. You guys who were doing the hunting thing last weekend, right? She's saying, don't rush into a sexual relationship like an innocent gazelle gets flushed from a thicket. You're going to die. Saying, look, it's not time. You do not have to act on what you naturally want. I think it's important to understand she's not saying no. She's saying yes, but yes when it's right. We want to do it? Sure. God-given desire? Yes. Not yet. Not time. Appropriate time, she says. Well, when's that? She says, when it's right. Or the word could be righteous. Now, who hits the brakes here? Pretty much both of them, but really she does. But he goes with it too. I want to, I'm capable, but that's not who I am. I will protect you even from me. Regard, right? How they see each other, respect. How they treat each other, romance. How they act towards each other, and each of these things will lead you to the other. Those things work every single time, and they lead you to the natural outcome where we see them. Listen, if it's not time and you're not ready, don't walk that path, because the last thing is restraint. Restraint. I don't know how I'm going to end this message, but I only have a few minutes. So here we go. Let's start here. Sex, this might be news to some of you, is God's idea. That might be new information for some of you, but sex is God's idea. He thought it up. Adam and Eve, I believe, were real people. Jesus thought they were real people. I'm going to go with Jesus on that one. God is pro-sex. He wants us to have great sex. He didn't create us for that kind of a relationship and then throw us this grenade and say, they'll figure it out. And then Adam and Eve one day go, hey, guess what? We figured out this and that, and it's amazing. That's not how that worked. This would be so much easier, by the way, if when we went to get our marriage license, that's it. You know you're getting married, that's the one for me. It'd be easier if we went and got our marriage license and we also picked up our sex drive. Wouldn't that be easy? Okay, we'll take one marriage license, I'll take one of these and two of those and throw in two of those for her. Wouldn't that be easier? But it doesn't work that way. So we have to manage our desires. It's not that you deny the desire, it's God-given, God-created, right? A powerful gift that's also very dangerous. So when we talk about like sparks flying, like we have this relationship, right? There's attraction, romance, all that stuff. It can burn really, really hot, and it can burn really, really fast. You throw some gas on that thing, and it's gone. You cannot sustain it. It looks like love. I get it. It's gone, right? Now, listen, some of you, I know we're in the South, but some of you grew up this way, or maybe you're the ones among us, you got a fireplace. Maybe some of us have a fireplace, or you had one where you lived before, where you grew up, and the fire, right, it's there. It provides the warmth, and it makes you happy, and it's comfortable. But if the fire gets outside of those boundaries, it will destroy everything in its path. You got romance, passion, sex is like an explosive fire. Marriage, and this is what nobody else is saying, marriage is the fireplace where it's contained. Hey, what we're talking about is, look, all that getting to know one another, the stuff we're building on the front end right here, it's like you're gathering firewood. Don't make the fire yet, but you're gathering firewood. You're getting some kindling together to keep this thing going over a long period of time, to sustain it in a manner that will last, right? And we will talk about this later, but if you are married, you're going to have to keep the fire going, and it will require boundaries and appropriate fuel. We'll touch on that next week. What we see over and over in the scriptures is that sex is best expressed where there is safety and where there is security, where there is intimacy and where there is commitment in marriage. Because anytime we take something that God created, right, and we use it out of context, it always complicates things. That could be anything, right? Pornography complicates things. Sexting complicates things. Sex before marriage, sex outside of marriage. You play with the fire outside of the fireplace, it will burn your house down. And I know, but we're in love. Great. We have plans. Awesome. We're going to get married. Fantastic. We're engaged. We have a date. It's in 2 months. Fabulous. You're almost there. I don't know how to end today. Let's see. By the way, it's just true. All the research shows it. A relationship that is built and established and founded on sex before anything else has a lifespan of about 5 years. Which is why I will encourage you with everything I can today and the next coming weeks to build on friendship. Hey, I'm not saying they don't love you. They very well may. But they are not loving you in the way that you deserve to be loved. It might sound old-fashioned. I get it. I'm getting old. It might seem unrealistic. But does it possibly sound like a good idea? Or could it actually even be a better way than everything else we're hearing and learning in our culture, and we're watching celebrity marriages and we're going, that's what you want? I don't want that. Married sex is the context in which God approves and encourages and blesses. It's holy. These other things are smaller pleasures, right, that get in the way of what I would call a greater satisfaction. So, single or married, this is going to end on a really weird note, just so you know, so just prepare yourself. Single or married, right? Opposite sex or even same sex, are we going to let our desires govern our reading and experience and understanding of Scripture, or are we going to let it teach us how we redirect our desire to what God has that might be better? More than I want that, more than I want you, I want something better. Now, maybe we will talk before we're done about, if you're single, about celibacy as a gift to God, or fidelity, if you're married, as a gift to God. But our sexuality constantly challenges us to choose between I am ultimate and I am autonomous, or I am created and dependent on God. So we're going to offer up all of ourselves in worship to God. And we're going to offer up our relationships as a worship to God. So 2 things, and then I'll bow out. And then we'll not look at each other the rest of the day. All right. This is fun, isn't it? How many of you never heard this before in church? Just a quick show of hands. Never heard this before. I'm not talking about in the bathroom with your friends at youth group. I'm talking about this. Okay. 2 things. 1, it's never too late to turn back to God's plan. Never. I'll stand up here till the very end and say about everything that we ever talk about. It's never too late to go towards God's plan, to ask Him to be in your life, to rebuild anything that has been burnt down. He specializes in that. 2, we're going to continue to follow this relationship, okay? And I already added an extra week, and that's going to be next week, because there's so much that we need to talk about that has the potential to get inside of a relationship and ruin it. So I'm looking ahead to chapter 2, verse 15, where Solomon says, you need to catch the little foxes. So there are some things that threaten to get into your relationship and destroy it. And I think that's what we're going to talk about next week. So it's a lot of fun. I'm having fun. I'm going to ask you guys to stand up. We're going to pray on that note. And I will remind you again that you can see in the story a picture of how God chooses to love people. And whether you're going, okay, well, I'm never going to be married or have a relationship, you still get invited into this kind of relationship where a God who is a provider, who is a protector, who desires to have a close, intimate relationship with you. That's what he invites you into today. Let me pray. God, thank you for today. Thank you for our time together. God, I pray that what we've said today has been true. I pray that it's been reflective of what you want us to learn from this story. God, I would pray for relationships in our room today, for those who are watching online. God, for those who are dating and trying to figure it out, God, I pray that we would just consider this model as the best possible approach to doing relationships. God, for those of us who are married and we still got a lot of things to learn, God, I pray that we don't settle and get comfortable, but we're constantly pursuing one another to have the best possible relationship. God, most of all, I pray today that our relationships would reflect the one that you have with us. God, you love us, how you provide for us, how you protect us. God, how you would lay down your life for us. God, today we just say thank you for that, and we're going to pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Hey, thank you guys for being here today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you next week.
Right when I need you, you listen as I pray. You leave the 99 for me. You paint the sky with promises of your grace. So I will find my way to you. Now I can see clearly, my God, you for me. You won't let go. Your love won't let me down. And I know it's true. Yeah, I know that your love is all around. I believe in you, holding on to you, holding on, and I know you will never fail. I want all of you, you never change. Your love won't let me down. Love won't let me holding on, and I know you will never fail. I want all of you, you'll never change. Your love won't let me down. Love won't let me. Sing what you can do, oh God of wonders. Your power has no end. The things you've done before, We're going to turn this into a prayer tonight over our nation, over our cities. Come awaken your people. Come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. Hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people. Come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Oh, the darkest night, you can light it up. You can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. You've already won. God of revival, oh God of revival, come awaken our hearts to your Let's sing, come awaken your people, come awaken this city. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble. I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out. You sing every stronghold will crumble. Hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out.
Pour out your spirit, God.
Yeah, sing out your own song. lost away on a lonely shore. I can see in your eyes this fear. It's hard to take for a moment more. We've got to
burn the ships, cut the ties, send the flame into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye.
step into a new day.